Stuart,
Yes.
it appears as though the pace of life is accelerating. Can you talk about the role of stillness and slowing down in one's spiritual growth and development?
Look, a person who's the head of the corporation, is able to make decisions about, hundreds of millions of dollars, and they do it out of years of experience and knowledge. They don't have to get all enmeshed in the drama and the this and the that and the other. I mean, they make decisions. And the quieter they are inside themselves, the more open they are inside themselves, the clearer the decisions will be and the better the decisions will be. If you get wrapped up in the chaos and the confusion of our modern world, very difficult to make a choice. It's very difficult to be anything but blinded by the pace that life goes today, by the basic insanity of people, endlessly chasing money and power and money and power and money and power. If you get caught up in that race, you understand it will eat you alive. But if you can really maintain your inner balance and quiet connection with spirit, you can use that energy in order to make conscious decisions in your life. You're no longer blinded by the pace that other people live by, and you can make a clear decision about what you want to do with your life and how to make a choice. I mean, look, frankly, I've learned over years that, real strength is not tension.
Mhm.
It's not. Real strength is in the hara, it's in chi, it's in stillness, it's in quiet, it's in the capacity to see the world and what's an illusion and what's real, to make decisions accordingly. And not only business decisions, but about your life, how you want to live your life. This precious thing that we call life, how we want to live it. I remember I've told this story, but it's apropos here. I mean, when I was a kid, I needed a job. I was about 20 years old, 19 years old, and I saw an article in the help wanted section of the New York Times that some major corporation was looking for young people to train them as managers. So I said to myself, well, you're a young person, you can go there, maybe you'll get a job. So I went, I stepped into the building, and this is pre-Rudy, and I almost choked to death. I almost choked to death. The energy was so stagnant. The energy was so full of people's tension and all of that stuff. I said, Stuart, you can't work here. You will die if you work in this place. Maybe I gave up a career that would be worth hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't know. All I knew is if I spent 10 years in that place, I would have suffocated to death. I left. I went and got a job as a waiter. I really did. I went to a couple of restaurants, and in 5 minutes, I had a job as a waiter. And at least I wasn't going to choke to death. And then my life worked out. I didn't need corporate America to make my life work out. And when I lived in Texas, I was almost involved in corporate America. I mean, I started this company. One of my students made a candy bar for me that was all natural, organic, this and that, all the spin words. And it was delicious to boot. So I started packaging them and selling them and wound up getting distribution for them all over the United States. I was doing candy, conventions and gourmet food conventions and making connections with people. And I never forget it. This guy came up to me at one of those candy conventions, And he told me, he said, your product is the product of the future. That's what he told me. He said, I work for the Willy Wonka company, and I'm going to talk to my boss about giving you a major order so we can test this stuff. Well, they did. They gave me like an $80,000 order. And we had this little company with one packaging machine and a little machine making the little candy rolls. I mean, it was unbelievable. And yet we produced it and got it out. And then they invited me to the corporate headquarters of the Willy Wonka company to meet with the president and have lunch with the president and all the chief executive officers and all those people. And they took me on a tour of that facility. And I walked through their facility. I said, Stuart, my God, this is the future of your life. This is the future. Your future is an entire square block facility that nobody works in. It's all machines. And you're going to owe a bank $100 million. That's going to be your future. And I really made a decision there that I don't want that. My life has to be different than that. I didn't want to get sucked into corporate America and live that way. And then about a year later, I went back to New York. I opened this little antique store that looked like it was there 20 years. I had all this Oriental art I was selling, and it grew into something unbelievable. Successful. I made money. I had success. I was traveling all over the world. It was unbelievable. And I said, okay, this smells right to me. I don't have to be a big CEO. I can run this business and it smells right to me. And it worked. So it took me years to go through all of those things and to finally, came to a way to do my business and my spiritual life, and everything melded into one. And what I'm saying is that one has to have patience. Then you have to have enough faith in your spiritual practice that it'll take you somewhere. And then you have to be capable of acting on it in the world, being able to make choices. And some choices are very alluring. I mean, I think that candy company, God knows what it would be worth today. It was selling candy in all the supermarkets around America, all the health food stores. And that was like in 6 months, a year. We had a business going on like that. But I made a decision. I couldn't live anymore in Texas, and I had to move back to New York. And I opened this gallery in New York. So what I'm trying to say is that silence is very important. Your connection with God is very important. Guidance from a higher force in the universe is very important. Your greed will do nothing but create hell for you. But create hell for you. And corporations dangle this in front of people, and they just consume them. They consume people whole. So I prefer the silence. I prefer the connection with God. I prefer the fact that higher energy, if you do service to God in the world, they will provide you with everything. But it has to be real. It can't be just, oh, I want to, I want to, I want to. But you have to find a way in your life to do it. And the silence enables you to get through all the hoopla without being sucked dry by it. And we live in a world where all they do is consume. It's like cannibalism, people just consuming each other. It's a pretty terrible kind of thing. So I prefer silence. I prefer centeredness inside. I prefer sitting here and meditating, every week with you all. And then the rest of it comes. Whatever is supposed to, it'll come. They take care of you in your life. But I'm not everybody. And I'm kind of old school living in New York City type. hippie days and bohemian life and hitchhiking around the world. And, you know, but I also have this profound trust in the guidance of higher energy in the universe. And I can only get that guidance if I'm quiet inside. I'm not going to get that if I'm crazy inside. I won't even hear it if they try to give it to me. And it's been all right. My life has been all right. I can't complain about the way I've lived this life. I just got an email yesterday from a guy who arranged a trip I made to Poland. And it's been 10 years now since I've heard from this person. He was telling me how wonderful it was, and he'll never forget it. 10 years ago. And I'm like, wow, you know, you forget about all the wonderment that's been in your life. People remind you. So that's my preference, Tonya.
Beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome. It really is. It's how I try to live my life. And I mean, I'm not doing a third of what I used to do when I was younger. I can't, I'll kill myself. But I am doing more than most people my age are capable of doing. And it's only because of the higher energy that flows through me and makes all this teaching, all these classes. I mean, I had a retreat last weekend. I was staggering. I'm sorry, most of you missed it. It was something extraordinary. It was so profound and powerful and deep and changing people. I mean, and then Thursday I'm going away. 4 days and rest. Does anyone else have a question? And work is precious and rest is precious. Does anyone else have a question? I remember sitting with those guys in St. Louis at the Willy Wonka factory and telling them I'm going to manufacture an all organic form of gum. They went crazy. Wow, that's great. The president of how are you going to do that? I said, oh, we'll work it out. That's great. And after a tour of their factory, I said, no, this is not going to be my life. I'm going to walk around in a suit and have $100 million, you know, loan to a bank. And does anyone else have a question?
Stuart, I have a question.
Yes.
There's some things that transpired when I was a kid that I'm still working on. And 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 I'm there's a part of me that uh feels as if I needed a different way of looking at those things that happened back then.
Well, I can tell you, Bob, I'm in the same situation. I was a kid, I met Rudy, totally inspired by his meditation practice. Totally saved my life. It gave me a future, a path, a way to work in the world, and brought things to me that I never dreamed I would ever live with. I'm still doing that work, Bob, and learning from it. I am still practicing what he taught me. And every day I learn something new from it. Am I changed? Yes. Do I do it the way I did it when I was 25? No. Do I live the way I lived when I was 20? No. But I still practice his meditation, and every day it brings something miraculous into my life. Every day. And I was a young kid when I first learned it. I was a young kid when I first fell in love with art. I mean, you couldn't get me away from the Metropolitan Museum of Art. I used to go 4 and 5 days a week. I knew almost every painting in their old master section, you know? And then the Asian section, and still in my life. Do I relate to it the same way? No. I did become a member of the Met because I owe them a lot. I never go there, but I'm a member. I sent them a membership fee. But I don't really go there anymore. Not a lot, occasionally. But I still have art around me and love it. And it's very different today than it used to be. And I relate to it differently. Do I have to understand it? No. No, I don't. And that's one of the biggest things that's taken place. I don't have to understand Rudy's work. I don't have to understand the art that surrounds me. I don't have to understand anything, frankly, life, period. All I can do is open to it and let it teach me every day. I don't know if that answered your question, but it's the best I can do.
It was a great answer. Not the one I was expecting, but a great answer.
Good. If it was the one you're expecting, I'd be in a lot of trouble. Does anyone else have a question? I still practice Rudy's. I teach. I've been teaching this for 50 years now, for God's sake. Today is different than it was 50 years ago. It's the same exercise, but the whole manifestation is different. I suspect in the next year, it's even going to be more different. Does anyone else have a question they would like? All right, so just so you all know, Thursday I'm going away. There won't be a class until next Tuesday. Um, and then, as I told you all, I teach 7 of these classes a week, and I don't want to make excuses myself, but I'm freaking exhausted. And I want to, and I'm going to cut out one Sunday night class a week. Well, you're all here in the day class, so that doesn't really apply to you. But I just want you to know that. And there'll still be 6 classes a week, plenty of double breathing exercise, meditation practices to go to. And I'll be doing retreats every 2 months. The next one will be in June, I think around the 5th, 6th, 7th of June. If you want to come and you haven't signed up yet, you're more than welcome to attend. You can get in touch with Jennifer. She'll give you all the fundamentals about what it's about. Okay, thank you, and God bless you all. And there'll be a class tomorrow evening, so I'm looking forward to seeing everyone who comes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stuart.
Thank you, Stuart.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Thank you, sir.